What if I told you that a country can be destroyed without a single declaration of war? No invasion, no front lines. Just money, propaganda, and chaos. In 1953, Iran elected its own leader. Within months, that government was gone. But this was not an accident. It was part of a hidden pattern. A global strategy that has reshaped nations for over a century. From Iran, to Hawaii, to Vietnam, Iraq, and Libya. Tonight, on GeoMap Tales Unveiled, we trace the silent coups that changed the world forever. Throughout history, there have been countries whose fate was completely rewritten simply because they challenged American interests. One of the most striking examples occurred in 1953, in Iran. Not long before, Iran had held democratic elections. A new leader, Mohammad Mossadegh, won the public vote and became prime minister. Shortly after taking office, Mossadegh made a bold decision that would change Iran's destiny. He moved to nationalize all of Iran's oil resources. At the time, Iran's oil industry was firmly controlled by a British company known as the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. Mossadegh believed this situation had gone on for far too long. If oil profits truly belonged to Iran, then the Iranian people, not a foreign corporation, should benefit from them. However, almost immediately after the policy was announced, Britain responded with open threats. The message delivered to Iran's new prime minister was crystal clear: if he refused to back down, the consequences would be severe. Mossadegh refused to retreat. Seeing this, British intelligence quickly turned to the US Central Intelligence Agency. The two sides reached an agreement almost instantly to jointly overthrow Iran's democratically elected government. The CIA dispatched Kermit Roosevelt, head of its Middle East operations, to Iran. Upon arrival, he began pouring large sums of money into bribing local politicians and religious leaders. In return, the CIA demanded only one thing: spread anti-Mossadegh propaganda among the public. What followed soon shocked the world. A series of coordinated attacks against religious figures took place, and the blame was quickly pinned on Mossadegh. Protests erupted across the country. Demonstrations soon spiraled into violent riots. Shops were burned, stones were thrown at police, and casualties appeared on the streets. Within a short time, Tehran descended into complete chaos. Eventually, Mossadegh was forced to resign, reluctantly and unwillingly. His resignation created a power vacuum. The United States and its Western allies swiftly installed a new leader, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Soon after, Mossadegh was arrested, put on trial, and sentenced to lifetime house arrest. At this point, the story may sound familiar. And that's because it was far from an isolated incident. Over the past 100 years, similar operations have occurred again and again. The number of foreign governments overthrown with US involvement is now almost impossible to count. To understand how it all began, we must go back to 1893, to Hawaii. Hawaii became the first overseas territory where the United States overthrew another government. At the time, Hawaii was a remote island chain, isolated in the Pacific Ocean, located nearly 3.500 kilometers from the US mainland. American missionaries had arrived earlier to spread Christianity. Over time, they began purchasing large amounts of land and developing sugar plantations. Most of the sugar produced was exported to the United States, while local Hawaiians gained almost nothing. In response, Queen Liliuokalani attempted to impose restrictions on American sugar companies to protect her people's interests. Before these policies could take effect, American plantation owners raised the alarm. Soon, US warships arrived in Hawaii, and with the help of local collaborators, a coup was launched. The Queen was overthrown, and a pro-American figure was installed in power. This marked America's first successful regime change abroad. Encouraged by success, the United States increasingly intervened in foreign affairs. In the following decades, coups backed by the US spread across neighboring countries, installing one compliant government after another. After World War II, everything changed. The United States emerged as a global superpower. Facing a new rival, the Soviet Union, American ambitions now extended far beyond the Americas. The first victim of this new era was Iran in 1953. The following year, in 1954, the same strategy was repeated in Guatemala. A democratically elected leader began limiting American corporate control over electricity, railways, and land. The CIA responded with weapons, propaganda, and destabilization. Guatemala collapsed into chaos. The leader resigned. A US-backed ruler took power. What followed was decades of civil war, violence, and millions of deaths. Next came the Congo in 1960-1961. After independence from Belgium, the Congolese elected Patrice Lumumba. His anti-Western stance and Congo's vast nuclear-grade mineral resources made him a target. The CIA intervened once again. Lumumba was eventually assassinated. Then came Vietnam. In 1963, a CIA-supported coup led to the assassination of South Vietnam's leader, an event that dragged the United States into the Vietnam War for over a decade, ending in defeat and global humiliation. The pattern continued. Brazil, Panama, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya. In Afghanistan, US-backed fighters later evolved into the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. In Iraq, regime change led to civil war and the rise of ISIS. In Libya, NATO intervention ended with the death of Muammar Gaddafi and the nation torn apart by endless conflict. Once prosperous, Libya collapsed into chaos. These are only some of the most symbolic cases of US intervention in foreign governments. Many more remain unlisted. This is the story behind today's video. If you enjoyed it, please support the video by clicking the recommendation button, so that history can be seen, understood, and remembered by more people. What you've seen today is only part of the story. History is not just written by wars, but by decisions made in secret rooms, far from the battlefield. On GeoMap Tales Unveiled, we uncover the hidden forces that shape borders, nations, and power. If you want to understand how the world really works, explore the next video on this channel. Because every map hides a story, and some truths were never meant to be revealed.